Welcome to Lesson 2 of Sifat series. Last lesson we learned that Sifat is the way we pronounce letters and that there are two types of Sifat. Sifat that have opposites and Sifat with no opposites. And we started with the Sifat that have opposites and we covered the first couple, which was al-hams versus al-jahr. And today we move on to the second pair, and it is الشدة versus الرخاوة. So let's get started. So let's start with الشدة. In Arabic, الشدة means strength, but in terms of tajweed, it refers to the term plosiveness. So حرف شديد refers to a plosive sound. So what is a plosive sound? Well, from its name, it is a sudden burst of sound that is released with a little degree of force. And so, for a sound to be plosive, it is produced from, first, stopping the airflow, which happens at the makhraj and kind of creates some pressure, and then, second, suddenly releasing this air. This is the plosive action, made up of two actions. First, stopping, and then releasing immediately. And naturally, this type of sounds are not continuous. It just happens and then stops. And we apply this principle on 8 letters, which form the mnemonic أجد قط بكت. So all of these sounds are plosive. To understand that even more, let us have a look at one of these sounds, ba sound. So we say b, b. And as you can see, ba is produced after you have accumulated some air behind the lips, and then suddenly opening these lips, releasing the air and producing the sound. Another example is the sound of jim, which is also the same story. We say aj, aj, aj. So it is a plosive sound. That's why saying aj is wrong, because this way jim has lost an inherent sifa, which as you can see contains no stopping or releasing of air. So neglecting this sifa turns the jim into a different letter. The interesting thing about this set of letters is that all of the letters of qalqala are found within the letters of shidda, which are qaf, ta, ba, jim, and dal. And this actually explains why qalqala exists in the first place. But how's that? Well, when we try to pronounce qaf, but only performing the first action, so just the stoppage of air, it would sound like this. Aq, aq. So we have not released the air that we have accumulated, or in other words, without qalqala. And you can immediately feel how uneasy it sounds, and most importantly, how it is unclear to differentiate which sound it is. However, if we release the air and say aqqo, aqqo, the sound is now more comfortable to pronounce and it is actually clearer to differentiate. That's why Arabs used qalqala with these letters in their speech to differentiate them from one another, and because it is easier to pronounce them like that. Interestingly, the other letters, kaf and ta, also require a form of releasing air, which is called hams, which is what we covered last lesson. So without hams, these two letters will sound very similar. Ak, at. But with hams, ak, at. They are distinguishable and it is easier to pronounce them as well. But now you might be thinking, so Arabs had qalqala for these letters and hams for those. Then why aren't we allowed to have qalqala or even hams for hamza then? I mean, it has the same characteristic, so it should have one of these two. Why can't we say يأتي or السماء? Why is that wrong? Well, Arabs didn't used to have qalqala or hams for hamza because they had other ways to avoid the heaviness of hamza completely if they wanted to, using techniques like ibdal and tasheel. Quraysh dialect, for example, didn't pronounce hamza at all. So, the Quran was revealed like that for such people. And we notice that in words like yuminun without the hamza, or yatu. And of course, when it is done in the Quran, it is not done randomly. There are rules to follow to avoid the heaviness of hamza. That's why adding qalqala to hamza is not a standard practice, and Quran should not be read like that because it is not meant to be read like that. So, these 8 letters are the plosive sounds or the letters of shiddah. So what is the opposite of shiddah? Well, the opposite is ar-rakhawa, which in Arabic means softness. And in terms of tajweed, it means fricatives. And here I gotta say that fricatives is not really the best translation, since Arabic contains special sounds which don't perfectly fall under this name, which was mainly made for English and similar languages. But I'm still using it for easiness. Fricatives are produced by allowing a partial obstruction of airflow to create a continuous sound. In other words, air will flow as long as you are pronouncing the letter. Like when we say s. We notice that the tongue is raised, but it is not touching anything that stops air from flowing. Air is simply guided through an opening that produces the continuous s sound. We also notice that air is flowing while we produce the letter, and that is very important. This applies to the rest of the letters other than the 8 letters of ash-shiddah. So they are the other 16 letters of the alphabet. So ash, as, al, and so on. And if you've been paying attention now, you should notice that 16 letters plus the 8 letters that we just discussed are 24 letters. So where is the remaining 5 letters of the alphabet? Well, indeed, there are 5 remaining letters, which don't belong to either shiddah or rakhawa. We call these letters al-huruf al-bayniyya, which are the in-between letters. They are between shiddah and rakhawa. And this means that their makhraj is not completely closed as in shiddah or partially open as in rakhawa. But al-huruf al-bayniyya, or in-between letters, have the makhraj that is almost completely closed. So there is a very narrow gap or almost a contact between the articulators, but without completely closing or pressing against one another. This allows some air to escape and some continuity in producing the sound. The letters that belong to this category are the remaining 5 letters forming the mnemonic Lin Umar. So when we say ah, we directly feel that the makhraj is not as open as with other fricative sounds, but at the same time, it is not completely closed as with the other letters of shiddah. It is somewhere in between. And that's why it is harfun bayni, or an in-between letter. This is specially understood in the production of the letter mim. The mouth is completely closed, but air does escape through the nostrils, which creates the sound. So, the second couple of sifat is shiddah versus rakhawa. Shiddah letters are ajid qattin bakat, which are plosive sounds produced by first stopping air and then suddenly releasing it, while rakhawa letters are the remaining 16 letters, with the exception of these 2 sets, and they are produced by a continuous stream of air passing through the makhraj. And between them, al-huruf al-bayniyya, which are the letters of Lin Umar. And these letters are produced with a faint flow of air passing through an almost closed makhraj. Thanks for watching. If you want to start reading and understanding the Quran in Arabic, then you should start your journey right here. And don't forget to check out my latest book, which goes perfectly with this free course. I'll leave the links for all of them in the description, so check them out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.